PR Connections Radio presents.
Hello there, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. This is your host, Jesse Oakley III, and the purpose of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is to interview a plethora of positive people that are making big differences in their communities. You name them, speakers, writers, athletes, entertainers, community service people. You'll hear from them first right here on the Sunday Morning Chat Series. And today, we have ourselves a wonderful episode for you. I'm involved in public speaking, and I definitely like to get involved in giving presentations and just having fun with everybody and reaching out to the different people that are out there. And today's guest is a part of Steve Cohen Speaks. And to explain further about Steve Cohen Speaks, please may welcome our guest today, Steve Cohen. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you. So Steve Cohen Speaks. That's an interesting story in itself because I was never a speaker. I was actually the shy person in my life, and it seemed like the more I spoke, the more I wanted to speak. But I was trying to address things that people themselves wanted. So Steve Cohen Speaks came from my whole life, just building one thing onto another, until I got to the place where all of a sudden I started speaking, and now people can't shut me up.
I tell you what, that's truly fantastic. And I have another question for you regarding about Steve Cohen Speaks. How did you get started? What was the premise on actually building up what Steve Cohen Speaks?
Well, you know what? My background is healthcare. And coming from healthcare, I saw a lot of people who were not doing as well as I thought they could. And they were being treated by medical care, so to speak. And medical care is great. But sometimes I think the first thing that people need to do is to do healthcare, is to take care of themselves before they have someone else take care of them. So I started speaking about two people who were having difficulty in their healthcare world. They could have been a hospice patient. They could have been someone who was going through treatment, even healthcare providers. I've spoken to them also because I really want to see a change being made in the way people take care of themselves and add to the longevity of their life. And not that they're just living longer, that they're living longer, happier longer, that they want to have longer, happier lives, not just saying, you know what, I hope I make it, or 88. Are you talking about 88? I'm like, I don't want to do the 88. So anyways, so Steve Cohen Speaks, I got started by one day just giving a speech on healthcare to people and alternatives that they could do to make themselves better. My background, just real quick, is I started out as an occupational therapist. And after I became an occupational therapist, there were some government programs that came in that were going to shut down the occupational practice I was in. I moved into nursing. So I just grew onto something else. And then from nursing, I went into hypnosis, where I started working with people to help calm their minds. And then all of a sudden I started talking about healthcare.
Okay, cool, fantastic. Now, another question I do have for you is, with healthcare and with your business, Steve Cohen Speaks, there have been different challenges for many people to actually get the business off the ground. What were some of the challenges that you faced in getting this off the ground?
Well, one of the things is, before you can speak to people, people have to know about you. You know, it's important to make sure that you get out in the community, you get out in the world, you get out on your social media and speak positively about what it is that you want to see change in the world, things that you think can be better. You know, if you keep speaking about things that are negative, negativity just grows. So my biggest challenge was to get people to understand, and not only to understand what I was speaking about, but doing something. There's a lot of people who can go and they can listen to the radio and they can listen to something that's going on in the world, but it's not till you start taking part in what you want to change that you make a difference. So my biggest challenge was to get people not only to listen, but to get people to actually do.
Exactly. That's definitely to the point. Now, we talked about the challenges on this scenario. Now, what have been some of your best moments?
You know, one of my best moments actually was I did a song that was called Green, and it had to do with when I was younger and somebody who said something to me, which was and my father said to me, what they were saying to you was derogative. Being a child, sometimes people say things to you, you don't understand what they're saying unless they say it with force. So I did this one presentation called Green, and it was about somebody who actually was being belittled by someone else, a child, which was myself, but they did not know that they were. And in the end, they learned to build up some resilience and some strength to people who said bad things about them, because words have no effect on you unless you understand what they mean. But so the positive change that came out of it is I did it in front of a big group of people, and it got recorded. And I was in the city of Chicago one day about 3 years ago, and there was a young man, and he pointed to me, and he's like, "Green," and I'm like, "Green," and I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, "What is he talking about?" So I'm thinking, his friend's name is Green, last name Green, or first name Green. I don't know who he was pointing to, and he's like, "No, no, no, I'm pointing to you," and I was like, I don't know you. I don't think I know you. And he said, "I watched you on video," and he goes, "You talked about something that really hit home with me." And he goes, "I just want to let you know that me and my friends were going to go and break into a store because I thought we were being put down, and we were being put down. But I realized we weren't the only ones who were being put down. When you told me your story, I realized, you know what? We should all band maybe together." And he said, so I didn't go, but believe it or not, Steve, the next day, my friends did go, and 2 of them got arrested. 2 of them got shot. And it was just such a bad scene. And he goes, "Guess what happened to me?" I was like, "What?" He said, "I was home. I never left." He goes, "Because I thought people were stealing from me. And when we thought what we should do is we should get back at people and steal from all those high rich people." And I stayed home. But I lost 2 friends on that day who went in and decided they were going to, break into a store and steal stuff and damage and such. So that was really my best story. It was such a great moment. And it's one of those things that you're so happy that you're almost crying, but at the same time, you're happy at the same time. So that was really one of my best moments when someone told me a story affected their life and it made a change in their life.
I tell you, you hit the nail right on the head, and I was blown away by that story. It makes a big difference on who you actually bring life into and give the words to and give the wisdom to, and just when having people out there when you think it doesn't, but believe me, one
Right.
person could actually make a huge difference. And I really definitely like that story because who knows what would have happened if he'd gone out of the house.
Right. I was at a church speaking, and that's where he met me. And I would have never met him, and I would have never known the story. And then we talked about after that too. We talked about some of the challenges that he's gone through. So it was such a great it was a great meeting. Not only was it good for me, but it was just a great meeting to be able to meet with someone and then hear with some of their challenges that they were going through.
Ain't that the truth? That's a wonderful truth. All right. The next question I have for you is, let's say that you meet another person that is inspired by what you're doing, especially when it comes to speaking about health and the importance of it and making a big difference for different people. And they see you and they say, wow, I really want to do what Steve Cohen is doing right now. If you get a chance to talk to them and they say that they're amazed and inspired by your work and they want to be in your shoes. If you can give any advice for that person who wants to be in your shoes, what advice would you give?
I would give you need to be persistent and you need to be consistent. You have to do the thing that you want to do. You have to work on it every single day. You have to write it down in the palm of your hand or on a piece of paper that you see in the morning and you see before you go to sleep. So you do that, but the thing that you also have to do is you have to do it. You can't just write it, you have to do it. You can't plan to do it, you have to do it. And sometimes it takes a step at a time. People are trying to get an end very quickly, but sometimes you don't get to the end very quickly. So you have to go step by step. And then I always tell people, what you should do is you should write down today where you're at. So 7 days from now, after you're doing something consistent, look back at where you're at, because people don't think 7 days, nothing changes, or, or 7 days later, they look back and go, like, nothing has changed. And I say, look back at what you wrote on day one and see if you're anything's different than where you were before. You're not going to be at the end result probably, but you're going to be somewhere that you're moving along. And when you look back at what you wrote down, you're going to just be amazed, and it's going to push you to go another week and another week and another day, another week and another year. So that's what I myself did, is I just took day by day by day and just keep building and building and building.
I tell you, you hit the nail right on the head. And those words of wisdom, that advice that you shared with me and to have people out there, that reminds me of a following quote from Miguel de Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote, Man in La Mancha.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it is, the journey is better than the end. So many people focus on the end results in minds, and there's nothing wrong with that. And another part of the equation is your journey. How'd you get from point A to point B? And you can definitely learn from the journey and share from the journey. And when you get there, you can actually dream the impossible dream.
That's right. Definitely.
All right. Next question I have for you is, how can more people know about Steve Cohen Speaks? Where could they actually go?
You can go to Steve Cohen Speaks.com, which is my website, but you can also email me at stevecohen@hypnosisclinician.com. A lot of people who have come into my life have come into my office and met with me one-on-one to see how they could possibly make a change in their life. So those are two ways to get hold of me.
Oh, all right. And again, you have that. Could you say that one more time just to make sure?
Sure. My website is Steve at stevecohenspeaks.com. And my email address is stevecohen, COHEN, @hypnosisclinician.com.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. And now this portion of the interview is our shout out portion. It gives you an opportunity to give a shout out to all the people that made this possible for you. If you can give a shout out to as many people as you can, who would you like to give a shout out to?
You know what? The first person I'd like to give a shout out to is actually my instructor when I was going through nursing school. Her name was Marcia Duchan, and we called her Sarge. She was in the Army in the 40s, and she always gave me wisdom on what to do during times that I was having difficulty. And most people didn't like to go to the Sarge and talk with her because she was mean and tough. And one of the things that I did is one day I went and I brought flowers into her, which nobody did before. And I said to her, Mrs. Duchan, I'm giving you flowers. Will you give me an A? And she said, anybody who gives me flowers gets an A in my book. But the thing is, what I did is I was giving it to her for appreciation. So she's the first person, and I have a lot of things written down by her that have really helped me make a difference in my life. She's one of them. The other is my parents. My parents were very big on encouraging me to continue, moving forward. They said you could be anything that you want in your life. And I decided I was going to listen to what they said. And the third person is actually not a person who I want to give a shout out to. It's actually my car. When I was 17 and a half years old, I graduated high school, and I decided I wanted to go into the world. And at 17 and a half years old, I went and I took my savings that I had from working in a restaurant and decided to rent an apartment. But the thing that's important about that is at 17 and a half years old, nobody will rent an apartment to you. You need to be 18. Yeah. But I was too proud to go back home and say, you know what, I failed. So fortunately, I lived in my car till I turned 18. But that car, even though it was missing a bumper, had a dented fender, it protected me through the fall, through the winter. It always ran. It always kept me going. But I have to give a shout out to that because it's my story of where I'm at today, how I got to go to places I needed to go to. It was because of that car that actually helped me move forward.
Oh, those are some great shout outs, and especially with the car, the parents, and Sarge. And they're truly fantastic to give wonderful shout outs too. Now, the last final question I have for you, it will be addressed to the people that watch this program. And these people are my people, and they're called the happy people. And at the end of each interview that I've done on the Sunday Morning Chat Series, they always want that wonderful bookend words of wisdom from my guests. If you can provide any solid words of wisdom to my group, my crew, the happy people, what would it be?
The important thing in life is to make sure before you take care of others, you take care of yourself. You're no good for anybody unless you're taking care of yourself. Because if you get worn out taking care of someone and then they come back to you, they're not going to make it. So make sure that you take care of yourself before you take others. In healthcare, that's what we're trained to do, even though healthcare workers end up caring more for others than they do themselves. But it's just so important. Make sure that you care for yourself first. Don't be selfish per se, but make sure that you take care of yourself. I write songs, and I write a lot of songs about taking care of yourself.
All right. And this is a perfect bookend to a wonderful interview with you, Steve Cohen of Steve Cohen Speaks. And on behalf of all the happy people that are out here today watching this program, I thank you for being part of the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. Thank you very much, Steve.
Stay happy.
All right. Stay happy. That's right. That's
right.
All right. Now, this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series. For more information, go to prconnectionsradio.com. And I also have a brand new YouTube page that's out called Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. All you have to do is go to YouTube, type in Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III, and you'll hear from past people that I've done interviews with that are making big differences in their community. That's Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. Just click subscribe, click like the button, comment, and share as many videos as you can from the past interviews. On behalf of Steve Cohen and all happy people that are here today, I say this is Jesse Oakley III from Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III, signing off. And until next time, you take care, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.
Have a great life.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.